Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Wheels Up podcast. I'm Mary, and
Frankie.
this is episode 12. And today we're going to be talking about our opinions on just like members of the team that aren't part of the original cast, the
Oh, is that
main cast,
is that what we're talking? Oh, okay. I thought you were
right?
talking. Yeah, I thought you were implying like past team members, which we could talk about today as well. But it's okay. Yeah, we're basically talking about reoccurring characters, that were on the show.
Oh, once again, we were confused on what's going on.
No, I mean, well, we can mix it up. It's basically like characters that were on the show that did more than an unsub or a victim, but also weren't like a main team member for a
Oh, yeah,
long
that's a
time.
good idea.
I swear we
Once
had this.
again, Frankie made the list and then didn't show it to me.
Okay,
So I'm just as surprised as you guys are.
Anyways, yeah. So, should we just get started?
Yeah, let's just go right into it.
Okay. So first one. Okay. I mean, we could talk. I mean, a lot of these we've mentioned before, just because they're such big characters. But we'll just start. George Foyet. I don't know. Unsub.
He's the one who stabbed himself, right? The Reaper.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also killed Haley and tried to kill Hodge to an extent.
He's a bad dude.
Not good. I mean, we've probably talked about him for a while already, just because
Mm-hmm.
it's hard not to talk about the show and just not talk about him.
Yeah.
Um.
He's a pretty good unsub.
Oh yeah.
Especially in that when I first watched the episodes where like he pretends to be a victim, I don't think I like guessed that
Oh yeah. No.
until they were kind of coming to that understanding. So that was pretty good.
It took me a while to realize how good of a cover it was because one, like disguising yourself as one of your own victims is intense, but two, you know, making himself a victim who was hiding from the like, Reaper by saying, "Oh, this is why I don't see people. This is why I live off the grid. This is why I'm constantly changing
Mm-hmm.
my identity. Not because I'm trying to like get away as a serial killer, but because I was a victim of one." It's like a really good cover.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, like really like one of the most intense like unsubs. And just like killing Halo. Oh, dude, I cry every time I watch.
That might be like the most intense storyline in the show. One of
This,
the most intense.
honestly, I think it's probably the most intense, despite Spencer going through like 120 different things. It's probably like one of the most well written storylines of like
At
trauma.
some point, kicking Spencer just like loses its oomph, it loses its shine.
It's really tiring because a part of me, I mean, as you watch the show, you tend to get more attached, but like towards the beginning when Spencer would get hurt, it was like a really big deal. But then, like towards the end when he would get hurt, it's like, just do it. We don't care anymore.
We know it's gonna happen.
It's like, but we're not gonna have that conversation of like censored and trauma because that's not what
We
this
already had that conversation.
We had that conversation for 2 hours already. But yeah, is there anything more you want to say about the Reaper?
No. He's a bad dude. He creeps me out. If I saw him in my house, I would punch him, no hesitation.
I think if you see anyone you don't know in your house, you'd. Okay, next one.
If you showed up at my house, there would be a little bit of a hesitation.
Before you just decked me in the face?
Yeah. 10 seconds, I'd let you explain yourself.
Oh, it's Frankie. Uppercut. Okay, next one. One of my personal favorites. Kat Adams.
Oh, I love her.
Mary and I really do have more sympathy for like, not sympathy because we don't justify their crimes, but like female unsubs.
Yeah.
We're like, there might be a reason here.
Women supporting women.
That's not what that means. I hope people don't mind that we're not. I mean, if you're watching this podcast, you already know probably the characters, so we're not gonna try to like be like, this is who this is and this is what they did. Because again, we've talked about Kat Adams so many times already. I feel like on this podcast.
Yeah, they should probably know at this point.
And if you don't, go rewatch the other episodes.
It's basically Aubrey Plaza if she's given a knife.
It's honestly, Aubrey Plaza plays herself in like most of what
She
she
really
does.
does.
And there's nothing wrong with that. She's like a great. I love her like dynamic as a person and like her characters. But I feel like Aubrey Plaza has more range that we should
Yeah.
explore, not just her
I
playing herself.
I think I've said this, but she is the cinematic and moral antithesis to what's his name? You know who I'm talking about.
What's his name?
I'm really bad with names.
Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah.
You know, I'm surprised they haven't done a movie together.
I feel like there's one out there. We just haven't found it.
I feel like they're the couple like that Hollywood would set up just because they're both weird and like quirky kind
There
of.
would be no sexual tension, but people would watch it anyway.
It's just really awkward for like some apparent reason all the time. Because he has a really good dynamic with Kristen Stewart, who is also the kind of like introverted, low key type.
Yeah.
And so they have a good dynamic. But I feel like with Aubrey Plaza, who isn't really the introverted, low key type, would just it would really mesh well with Jesse Eisenberg's just complete lack of caring. I mean, the man does not care. He's been like he has this. He's I hate to rant, but Jesse Eisenberg has perfected the art of doing really big movies but staying off the grid. Because he's made money off of movies. Like he's made money off of really big movies, but we don't talk about him a lot. Like
I
as a
mean,
society.
we talk about him a lot.
But society in general doesn't tend to mention Jesse Eisenberg on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, sorry about that. But back to like Kat Adams. What do you like about her, Mary?
I mean, she's not a good person,
Yes.
but she's just one of those characters that if she had a redemption arc, no matter what bad shit she did at the beginning, you'd still like root for her.
God. I mean, the way they caught her was like really fucked up. Because remember, they were like, we found your dad. We're gonna take you to him. You
Yeah.
come with us. And then she was just thrown in the back of a cop van.
I mean, she's not like the very best like unsub they've had, but just like being Aubrey Plaza just like kicks it up a notch.
I mean, she's just interesting.
I just that first episode that she's in where she's just like talking to Spencer and like their genius mind to like pit it against each other.
Oh yeah.
And like the tension in that, I just really enjoyed that.
I love the way that episode is structured. Instead of like moving from the usual like finding out about unsub, flying, investigating, catching, coming back. It's like this the whole episode is basically like the interrogation.
Yeah. I kind of wish they had done more stuff like that over the series, like playing with the outline that they do for basically every episode.
Oh yeah, it just becomes really
repetitive.
Repetitive. And they made like 15 seasons of that, which is insane. But you know, that's why we put Spencer in jail. I mean, I thought her later storyline was interesting just because she came back. Like she's come back. This is the second time of her coming back, right?
Yes.
Or, no.
I think so.
I think maybe. I know that she's like definitely not like. Well, yeah, she showed up and
there was the first one.
Yeah.
And then there was the pregnancy prison thing.
Yeah.
And then there was the Reed's girlfriend thing.
Which is so it's so layered. Like her whole thing is so layered of like also they really like I don't to me it doesn't make quite sense of like her relationship with Reed. Not like they had one, but like you know it's a weird chemistry of like is Corona Wines trying to like push this narrative of Reed being that fucked up that he would like love an unsub, or are they trying to like just be weird with like tension and stuff?
I feel like all of their interactions are kind of playing off the like, you know, when you like watch like a heist movie.
Oh yeah.
Like Ocean's 11 or whatever, and then you think you know what happens at the end, but then they like switch it all up.
Yeah.
And you realize it was never like that. I feel like that feeling, like they're kind of playing with that whenever they interact because you think that Reed's winning, but then it switches around and then Kat's winning, and then actually Reed knew that she was going to do that, and it switches back around and Reed's winning again. It's like
I think like what they did with their storyline later was like it made it like really hard to take seriously. Because they went down
Yeah.
a road of like Kat wants to date Reed and like takes him to like a skating rink and like
They
they
made it pretty absurd.
and then he like she gets caught by his like now girlfriend. Doesn't make any quite sense. But no, yeah, you have a good point of like that just weird dynamic of like I see what you're going for, but also like it just doesn't make any sense because it has no purpose.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I also love that like Kat like it's an interesting storyline that she like was I mean in love dating another like victim in the past slash unsub. I forget her name.
Hmm.
Joe Mantegna's daughter in real life. That's all I know.
The one that had the one who was in Witsec.
Oh, Lindsey Vaughn.
Yeah.
I heard. Yeah. Should we go to the next one?
Sure.
We both love this person, William LaMontagne Jr.,
Yeah, I love that guy.
the man we can't understand. um, why don't you do? I feel like I've been talking a lot, Mary. Why don't you talk about Will?
Just like him. He doesn't. His character isn't super deep, but it doesn't need to be.
It's true.
He's from Louisiana. He's a good guy. He loves JJ. Like, what more do you need?
Honestly, for such a simple character, he's like probably one of the most well-written characters.
Yeah.
He's also just
You
like
can't understand what he's saying, but that's not important.
what he has to say isn't important.
You get the emotion, you get the feeling.
I mean,
And I really liked I really liked JJ and Will's relationship. I thought it was sweet.
yeah.
I thought they complemented each other well, and they had a pretty healthy relationship.
Yeah.
Like that episode where JJ, like, it starts off with JJ coming home and she's like super broken up about like that kid that she couldn't save on the case, and it like
Yeah.
goes back and he's just like helping her through it. Like, that felt real.
I like that the conflict they had in the beginning of the relationship was real. Like
Yeah.
they had problems with committing and telling people about it and da, 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 and it like made sense. It wasn't just like a random like shit show like relationship. Like their relationship had a pretty good storyline until the end there where Corona Minds fucked up a little bit.
I'm not talking about it.
But I love Will because he's a simple character, but like Criminal Minds could have gone more into his character, but I'm glad they didn't because I feel like they would have fucked it up a little bit.
Yeah. He was the
Um,
perfect character to just like tote out and like let people like bounce off of every once in a while.
yeah.
He was like a good addition to like the cast, like when they needed him to be, without like taking control of the episode, you know?
Yeah. Pro tip: if you haven't seen, or like haven't watched an interview, or like haven't heard this guy's actual voice, like the accent he has on the show isn't real. I think a lot of you know that. Go watch an interview with this man. It honestly it blew my mind. It was weird just like seeing his face with such an understandable and like comprehensible and clear and clear spoken voice that I like recognize. Like his accent is very American. Like it's very much like, oh, this guy isn't from like
I feel
Louisiana.
like people from New Orleans
Yeah.
don't actually speak like that. Like, I feel like his accent on the show is very exaggerated, but I don't know anyone from New Orleans, so I have no facts to back up that claim.
By the way, when I say American, I recognize that Louisiana is in America, but when I say American,
Is it though?
when I say that I mean like Mary and I's voice. Like we're all, we have there's like a chance of us being from like several states across like America, and like we have quite plain like American accents that
Average.
you can't really tell where we're from. I mean, we could be from lots of states. What if
You
we did
can't
a
like
reveal?
tell like where we're from.
I'm actually in Ohio. No, but yeah, no. Honestly, I think a great character, well written.
Yeah.
Isn't it sad that one of the characters that Criminal Minds did the least with is probably one of the most well written?
Sometimes the writers just take it too far.
Yeah.
Like, Will is just a very realistic character. Like, he seems like a real person. He has like realistic responses to things. And other characters some don't.
literally every other, I think almost every character on Criminal Minds to some degree could be described as irrational.
Yeah. I mean, Reed is just unrealistic. Garcia, gotta love her, but she's kind of exaggerated
Oh
in
yeah.
all of everything she does. Prentice doesn't really I love her too, but it's not really a realistic,
Oh yeah.
you know.
It's like I could imagine Will being like a real person, and like
Yeah.
I see people I know in him, and it like makes sense. Every other, I mean, character with Criminal Minds, like I get it's a TV show, and it we probably wouldn't love the characters as much, but like they don't seem like real people. Like they're almost
Yeah.
like superhuman sometimes, where it's like that doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah, it's kind of black and white too. Like
Oh yeah,
there's either 100% good person, like you know they're gonna make good decisions all the time, or 100% bad person,
yeah,
like the unsubs,
and
basically,
I
most of
wish,
the time.
yeah, but and also good point because I wish Criminal Minds would sometimes realize when you want to add duality to a character, you don't have to go full force one way
Yeah.
because I feel like I know you don't want to talk about it, but like for example JJ and Reed. I feel like for a long time we didn't see JJ with a lot of duality, like dimension to her character, and I feel like her being in love with Reed was in a sense trying to add some dimension to her character. But like no, she values her family and she loves her family and we didn't need that like kind of dimension to her and also it doesn't make any sense to her character.
Yeah. There's like there's good ways to
Yeah.
resolve love triangles and there's bad ways to resolve love triangles. So I don't love triangles a lot of the time. Can I tell you about this really weird way that a show that I watched resolved a love triangle?
Okay.
Okay, so it's like it's between a girl and two guys, right?
Okay.
And one of the guys definitely is in love with the girl.
Yes.
But then the other guy thinks he's in love with the girl until he realizes that he has like maternal feelings for her and sees
No.
her as a mom figure.
No. No.
It's kind of sweet like in this show, but it really it surprised me because he's like, I realized that I see her as a mother, and that's how I love her.
That's issues. That's like issues.
No, he realizes he never had like any romantic or like sexual feelings for her because he was confused. Like it wasn't like an Oedipus situation,
What show is
but it was
this?
still kind of odd.
What show is this?
No, I can't tell you. It's a show I want you to watch.
Okay. Can I tell you in a probably equally weird way like like a
Yeah.
franchise has like okay, so there's like it's the same thing, a girl and two guys. And
If you just explain Twilight to me, I'm logging off.
about to explain Twilight to you.
No,
It's
really?
so okay, I'm not gonna go on a rant because I have a rant about Twilight. We're not gonna get into it, but I will say I love Twilight, and you should anyone watching shouldn't be ashamed to love Twilight. It's great. Um, uh, it's just fucked. Like I feel like a lot of us in this in like a lot of people our age who like when Twilight was popular, we would have watched the show, like the films, the movies, but we wouldn't have totally like understood it. And years later, watching it back, we get the whole plot line, and it's fucked. Like
Yeah.
this triangle between Jacob, Edward, and Bella. It's resolved by Jacob grooming her daughter. Essentially, we're not going to call it imprinting in order to censor it. He's essentially grooming her, and that's how that gets resolved. It doesn't, anyways. But yeah,
Mm. Wait, can I tell you another one?
okay,
Okay, so this is a book series I read, and it sounds really weird, but it actually worked in the context of the book. Okay,
okay,
so there was magic in this book,
oh, okay,
but so one of the people it was a girl and two guys, and one of the guys in the love triangle is a god,
okay,
and then the one of the other people in the love triangle is a magician, but he's like dying of like a terminal illness,
mm,
and gods need vessels to like stay on Earth, so the god like possesses the magician guy, and so they're like a single person. So like, and then them together end up with the girl.
I don't like it. No, I don't like it. I don't like it. That makes you so uncomfortable in so many ways. I don't like it. I don't like it.
It was pretty good though. It was a good ending.
What book series was this?
The Kane Chronicles.
Okay.
It's another Rick Riordan book. He wrote it
Oh,
after the Percy Jackson series, but it's about like Egyptian gods.
you know, I still haven't read the Percy Jackson series.
You should. It's good. You should watch it before the TV series comes out. Also, if the TV series isn't good, I'm going to give up on planet Earth entirely, or I might leave.
They did
Not
it
like
so dirty
living,
with
but
the
I think I'll
movies.
go to like Mars or something.
I love how even what's his name, the guy who played Percy Jackson in the movies, Logan Lerman.
Yes.
Logan Lerman even like tweeted at Rick Riordan. He was like something about the movies, the series, and I was like, "Oh, I'm like excited for the series, and I hope it goes well." And da da da. Like even Logan Lerman's like that was a dark
Well,
spot.
I know that Logan Learman didn't read the books before he acted in the movies because he's made comments in interviews about pretty big things in the books. He just doesn't know what they are because like fans ask him. He's like, "Oh, I don't. That's weird. That's a weird thing to ask."
But also like, I mean, it doesn't. It's not quite comparable because he was so young. But also like, what's his name? Fucking, I'm forgetting everything. Harry Potter kid.
Oh yeah,
He didn't read the books.
Radcliffe.
Yeah, Daniel Radcliffe didn't really read the books, but then again, he was like 9 or something.
Yeah,
Wasn't
yeah,
he like super young? But like, there was an interview where he was talking about a really cute moment of like someone in like, he was doing a press conference and someone asked him, not Dumbledore's like full name, and he hadn't read the book, so he had no idea. And God, Emma Watson, who was also like around his age at the time, but of course she had read all the books because she's just literally like one of the smartest human beings. Like
yeah.
had written it on a note and like slipped it to him during the conference so he could read off of it.
I love that. No, but honestly, just the fact that Disney has said that they're gonna keep the characters' ages consistent with the books gives me a lot of hope. Because
Just if I honestly, there's so many franchises that like fuck up when it comes to age, and it hurts.
the sad thing is, I feel like a lot of the things that they did wrong in the movies, it was because they were trying to market it towards an older audience.
Oh yeah,
When if they had kept, I feel like if they had kept the ages the same, a lot of those changes they made wouldn't have happened because they would have been marketing it towards the right audience.
absolutely. Um,
Well, we should probably get back on track.
we
We got a little distracted.
it's fine. Okay, so next, Maeve Donovan.
Painful.
Do you want to start?
I liked her.
Yeah.
I personally think that if Maeve had survived,
Yeah.
everything that occurred after that point in the show wouldn't have gone to shit. Because like after that's when the show started kind of going downhill,
Yeah.
in my opinion. And I think if Maeve I just feel like she would have fixed it.
It's true. Again, trying not to go down that rabbit hole because we've been down that rabbit hole so many times of what if Maeve could have lived, she could have been a really interesting character and she could have like really been a good part of the show. Um
She
because
could have been like another like Will character.
exactly.
Where like she's not in a lot of the episodes, but they bring her in every once in a while. She could have been one of those like people they ask for opinions of, you know.
Consultants, yes.
Yes, a consultant. And she could have been cute with Reed and they would have stopped with the weird setting Reed up with people for an episode
Oh my
thing.
god.
It would have been
Look,
so much better.
here's my thing. Here's my thing. You know, I think Maeve had even like more potential to like maybe not be like I think she could have been a bit more than like a Will because I mean
Yeah.
she has a really interesting background and the way she enters the show is super interesting and like the whole setup of like them getting together by Reed saving her would have been like pretty cool. It would have been cool.
It would have
I
been so good.
and then I wish it would have done two things. One, either have her live and become a really good part of the show, or two, she dies and Reed quits because that to me makes sense consistency wise.
Yeah.
Like I think certain characters have like a natural ending, and I think Reed's was a long time ago before the ending of the show. which sucks because he is such like an integral character, and like we all love him, and like he's the reason why a lot of us watch the show. But come on,
Yeah.
like, he only has so much in him.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say about me?
I mean, that point in like Reed's like character arc,
Yeah.
like I feel like at that point his arc was still similar to like a semicircle.
Yeah.
Wherein after that, his arc just became like,
Yeah.
they just added all these new plot points and it became more like a web that was very confusing.
Yeah,
I liked her though. I thought she was cool. I thought she was a cool character.
I thought that
Even though she got barely any screen time.
that's true. Again, it's their beginning was like so interesting, and the fact that that all ended within like 2 episodes or something, it's BS.
Yeah.
You know, what was I gonna say? I hate to bring it up again, but I hate that they didn't make it a point of like Reed's character to like it would it's okay if he doesn't end up with anybody because you don't need to end up with anybody.
Yeah.
But no, they said no, we're gonna keep doing this thing of like him needing to be a complete character involve someone. Like it doesn't.
Just make a decision. Either have him be with a couple people at first, because that's fine. And then like make a decision and have a fully fleshed out relationship. Or just make it so he's happy on his own. Because I feel like they like broke him and his mental state with all the trauma. And then they're like, oh, we'll just fix this with this girlfriend we just threw in. Like, even the fact that they didn't have him, because like when he meets his girlfriend at the end, what's her name again? I can't remember.
No idea.
It's like Max or something.
It is Max, yeah.
Yeah. Is it Max? Okay. I thought
Max.
It was something that was like both genders, what was I saying? Oh, like even when he meets his girlfriend, he is not mentally stable.
Oh yeah.
He's just not. So they really were just like, oh, let's just fix this by like throwing this girlfriend who has she doesn't even have any like history in that type of field and understands the like stuff he's going through, and like not that would make it so she was able to like fix him or whatever. Like make it so he is able to reconcile his trauma with himself, and be in like a healthier mental state or whatever. I don't know.
In the entire show, I'm pretty sure Reed had one therapy appointment in the entire show.
And that therapy appointment was just a setup for him to meet Max.
That's not how people grow. That's not a character arc. It's
no.
He either grows as a person and becomes like a full character and like a person, or he goes the other way and goes evil, which is like fine. It's fine if Reed ended up somewhere which we didn't like, in a sense of like maybe an unsub or like maybe an evil person, or like left the way Gideon did because he was tired of the shit.
Let Reed go to therapy.
Well, guys, there's a GoFundMe in the description where we find Reed's therapy appointments.
I feel like a lot of shows and kind of media make that mistake though, where they're like, oh, let's just give them a love interest and then that'll fix whatever mental health issues that they have.
It's really
when that's just not true.
Because it really says something about Reed about this, because like it honestly kind of says that he has codependency issues, because there's kind of always been someone who he's like reliant on throughout the seasons. I don't like
if you're only like okay with yourself, with your self-esteem, and when it like depends on another person's opinion of you, that's not stable. You need to like handle yourself and like deal with your own issues before you
Yeah, I'm just laughing because our podcast has turned into like a therapy thing.
Okay, let's move on.
Well, before we end this, Mary and I are both advocates for therapy. If you want to go to therapy, yes. Try your best to find a way, and we both believe that therapy works, and it's a good way to handle stuff.
My mom has a degree in psychology.
I go to therapy, so it works.
I've never been to therapy, but it sounds cool.
Therapy is for cool kids.
Yes.
Okay, next one. I don't want to talk about him. I mean, we could for like 5 seconds because it's not. I feel like it's not that interesting for both of us. But
let's just do thumbs up, thumbs down.
Peter Lewis, aka Mr. Scratch.
It's kind of embarrassing.
What?
I don't remember.
He was the guy who was
No,
like.
I know like who he is, but I can't
Yeah.
remember anything about him.
I mean, the most like.
He killed the what's her name? The girl who was dating Rossi, the head girl,
What?
the head lady who was dating Rossi for a hot minute, and then she
Head
died.
lady? What do you mean head lady?
Strauss. Didn't Mr. Scratch kill her?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I remember about him.
The
I
most
think I
memorable.
might have skipped a season or something because like whenever you bring him up, I'm like, oh.
The most
I
memorable.
know he's like the biggest like unsub that they face, but
Yeah, one of the bigger ones. But like the most memorable thing he does is kidnap Emily at the beginning of season 13.
oh yeah, I always forget that he did that.
Yeah.
I know it happened, but I forget that was him.
He's not very dynamic, and I don't remember much about his background of why he's killing.
I feel like they like built him up a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Because didn't he like let those like prisoners go and he was like copying all those like things that different unsubs did, but then like I feel like the actual like meeting with him was kind of disappointing.
We need, when it comes to unsubs like that, we need a backup. We need, I mean, backup in the sense of like they have to have a good origin story of like why they're
Yeah.
doing this.
You mean background?
Yeah, backup. They need to have a good background. Like, what happened to him in his childhood, or like, what did he go through in order to like be this like villain?
This is why I can't remember him, not because my brain is just empty.
I just, you know, someday the writers are gonna see this and they're gonna feel so bad. I feel
No, you made this great show and we
Yeah.
appreciate that. We just think you could have done it a little bit better.
That's true. Honestly, I think any show that goes over like 10 or 12 seasons is a bit unstable and rocky.
Honestly, people that just like watch TV shows and then they just love it with like no critiques whatsoever, that's kind of unhealthy.
That's super unhealthy. That's blind worship.
We might be taking the critiques a little too far, but I think that's better than blind worship.
I honestly I think it is. We're
Yeah.
we're trying to get things to improve in the future for the next whatever TV show. Um I will openly say though that like all the shows I love are bad. And they're bad. Criminal
That's
Minds
because
is
you've been watching Criminal Minds and Supernatural nonstop.
Criminal Minds is great, but it's also bad in the grand scheme of things. Supernatural is great, but it's bad in the grand scheme. It's
If
not
you
bad.
just watch the shows that I've been recommending to you, then you wouldn't be watching such bad shows.
I'll tell you a good show that both Mary and I love. Hunters.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
We
I
won
like
season 2
that one.
of Hunters.
That like last episode, I just went feral. I did not. It was very.
Give us at Amazon, right? It's Amazon.
Yeah.
Amazon, give us season 2 Hunters because it's such a good show and it's an interesting premise. Give us season 2.
Another show I really liked on Amazon Prime that Frankie hasn't watched because she doesn't listen to my opinions is The Wilds, and it was really great. It came out a couple weeks ago.
How long is it?
10 episodes. They renewed it for season 2. It's about 9 high school girls that are flying on their way to a women empowerment retreat, but then the plane crashes in the ocean and then they're stranded on a desert island. And then like the whole show is it goes in the past to like explain their backstories, and then there's stuff in the present while they're on the island, and then it goes into the future when they're being interviewed by the FBI about what happened.
I like that. That sounds like a really long Criminal Minds episode.
Honestly, yeah.
But again, we always have the habit of talking about other shows on this podcast.
Oh yeah.
Back to the show that this podcast is literally based on. By the way, we love Criminal Minds. I hope that we don't hate it. We just have.
I do really enjoy it.
It gets to a point where it's like, okay, we love this, but it's it's easier to be like, these are the things we don't like about it, and I think
Trust me, I would not have watched 15 seasons of something I didn't love. Okay, who's the next person?
Let's just. I mean, should we talk about Lindsay? Lindsay Vaughn. I mean, there's not really much to talk about there.
I think she's cool.
Why?
It's not that I like support the characters or what they're doing.
Hmm.
but I always kind of like it. Like, I'm pleasantly surprised because, like, it happens all the time when, like, there's the good character that's being, like, confronted by the bad character, and then they're like, oh, kill this person or whatever. And then they're not going to.
Yeah.
They're going to make the right choice.
Oh yeah.
And then, like, every once in a while, they don't make the right choice. And I'm like, oh, I'm surprised. So that like first introduction we have of Lindsay, where she's like trying to convince her dad to kill that guy, and then it traumatizes Reed. I'm like, ooh, she made the other choice.
I think Lindsay. That's a good point. Shouldn't
Yeah,
just like.
not that I would kill anyone. I wouldn't. I don't think. Um, but like sometimes you just want to watch the bad characters face justice,
Yeah.
and then it's nice. Not that I would do it or that I support that.
I
Yeah.
think yeah. I think Lindsay was interesting, and I love her kind of arc of like. I think it was interesting because like she made her. I mean, not made. He had a choice, but like she told her dad to kill her captor, and most people wouldn't do that. I mean, most people would be mad, but they wouldn't like be like shoot that person.
Oh, well, the thing was the captor killed her best friend,
Oh yeah, yeah.
who was also like kidnapped with her.
But I think it's interesting to like we see a transformation from victim to unsub,
Yeah.
which we don't get a lot.
Yeah, I was really surprised when she came back. I
Yeah,
was like, "Oh, she's back. I know who that is."
she's a disaster. Can we talk about how she's a disaster bisexual?
Oh yeah.
Like her whole second storyline is that she's doing way too much for a girl that's probably straight and
Yeah.
is essentially in love with a man, and it's kind of like oh no, dude. You know the funniest thing that happened to me yesterday?
Mhm.
I was driving to pick up food, right? And I made the mistake of parking in between a car, it was my spot, and then like those like islands, like the grass and the concrete and the you did that. And I went in too much this way, and so I was basically like about to hit the car next to me. And luckily like the person was in that car and they went, no, 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 and they backed out first before I like got the chance to like readjust because I kept trying to readjust but it just wasn't working.
Mhm.
And like it was such a disaster buy moment because the entire time I'd forgotten that I was blasting the sweater weather by the neighborhood the entire time, like blasting it with my window open during
Mhm.
this whole time while I'm struggling to park.
Well, they were probably like, "Oh, I have to leave because gays can't drive."
I heard the lady who was driving the car laughing while she pulled away, and I was like, oh, she probably knew that I wasn't straight, and that's why I can't drive.
I did see a TikTok the other day, and the TikTok was just, "Okay, I'm gonna say it. Sexy bitches hit curbs." If you have never hit a curb so bad that your friend in the passenger seat's head hits the ceiling, you're ugly. I sent it to Priya.
I love the ones that are like you're either ugly, you're either pretty, or you got your license on time.
You know that
Okay.
one where it's like you're either pretty or you correct your friend's essays?
Oh my god,
I sent
that's
that to Sinead. Thanks, Sinead.
what a roast. Shout out to Sinead,
Oh,
she's great.
Sinead spent 2 hours correcting my last poli sci essay.
Wow.
I was like, wow, I would never do this for anybody else, but thank you so much. I wouldn't spend 2 hours correcting someone's
I
essay.
wouldn't either, but
I mean,
again,
I appreciate it. It's just,
Sinead's like big brain, and like she's actually
oh
good at
yeah.
English, and so like she like
I'm sorry.
gets it.
I didn't know this chair like went down. So I just,
Do the rest of the podcast like that. I think my chair's down
wait,
all the way. Wait, let me see if I
okay,
can.
I can go back up. Okay.
Oh, my chair goes down too. Now it's like, oh, okay. Anyways, back to Corona Minds.
A chaotic energy.
Uh,
Uh-oh.
let's talk about Ian Doyle. Spice it up a little bit. Um,
Give me a little quick refresher on who he is.
Ian Doyle, big part of Emily's past. He was like,
oh yes, I remember now.
Guy with the
The
sun.
evil guy. Yeah.
I think, you know what? I love Emily just because she has a really interesting background.
Mhm.
The whole thing of like having this whole past as like gone really undercover with like the
Yeah.
CIA and stuff, or like I think the FBI. I don't know if it was CIA with Interpol. Who knows?
Yeah, Interpol.
Um, and then she has a whole past with him, and I love the twist that she has where in order to protect his son, because she felt bad for him, um, was to fake his death to his own father because he knew
Mhm.
that he would be taken into that like criminal life. Um, but yeah, bad person.
Yeah. I mean, there are characters on the team that the writers did well with their backstories, and then there are some where they just didn't. Like Emily is a good backstory.
Yeah.
I think Garcia's is a pretty good backstory too.
Yeah.
It feels like well rounded. She like had an arc or whatever. Hotch just like doesn't have one.
Yeah.
He has a brother.
David's Italian.
That's his backstory. He's Italian. I don't feel like they did as well with Rossi's backstory because they're just like, oh, let's give him a bunch of ex-wives so we can just like bring them in whenever we want to.
God.
I feel like that's why they did that.
Yeah.
Reed's is not good. We've established that. I feel like JJ's isn't as good because they just like she has like one thing and they bring it up all the time,
Yeah. It's just
which
boring.
isn't super well rounded.
I hate that like her. I mean, it's cute. Like her whole thing. The reason why she joined the FBI was that she saw that Rossi was at her college and that she like
Yeah.
read his books, which I think is super sweet. But like, you have to give a little bit more? Like, did she probably?
Oh, well, I was talking about her sister.
Oh yeah, that too. But like, it could have been there again. It should have been more well rounded,
Hmm.
especially since she's such like an integral member of the team.
Yeah. Oh, but back to Ian Doyle.
Yeah.
I thought he was a pretty good unsub. I thought
Oh
he
yeah.
was an interesting unsub. And then I thought it was fun to watch. I thought it was well written. Like a
I,
lot of the storylines from earlier in the show are.
I thought the dynamic of like between him and Emily of like former lovers, but like she was like obviously undercover and he actually thought that she was like a person.
Yeah.
Um and you know, I mean, yeah. And also it's a great way to like expose who Emily is like in her
Yeah.
past.
I always think it's interesting when the unsubs are like they're unapologetically like a bad person.
Yeah.
But then they also have like good things that make them more human because some of the unsubs are just like inhuman, you know?
Yeah.
Like they're just like psychopaths. But then like Ian Doyle is like he seems like a like kind of like a regular guy that just chose to become a bad person.
Yeah.
You can see like he had like the possibility of being a good person, kind of, you know?
There's like a certain logic to his like actions that like just a lot of unsubs don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Um is we don't really know like too much. I mean, again, I wouldn't say he's mentally healthy, but he isn't obvious like though he isn't obviously mentally like ill in the way a lot of the unsubs are of like, oh, they're obviously like psychopaths who
Yeah.
enjoy what they're doing to people. It's like Ian is seems like a
He's
criminal.
just like he kills people, but it's for his business. It's like he's like a mafia boss or
Oh
something.
yeah.
Like he wouldn't just like murder a bunch of random people, but he would kill people in order to get what he wanted,
It's
which
bordering
makes him
that
a bad
line.
person.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Should we talk about like two more people and then I think we've been recording for like an hour.
yeah, almost. I think
Okay. Uh the next person. Strauss.
Strauss.
What a choice to give her the same name as Aaron. Like they're spelled differently, but it's odd.
Mm-hmm. Aaron and Aaron.
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 Um is Aaron.
Though female Aaron is Aaron.
And,
Aaron.
um
I think they kind of did her dirty
yeah.
because they made her a character that like they weren't even trying to get people to relate to her. They're just like, oh, here's a character for you to hate.
Yeah.
She is the small enemy
Yeah.
for the team. And then they tried to turn it around at the end. They had her date Rossi and overcome her addiction, which is
Yeah.
an applaudable thing. But they just like they threw it all in at the end just so we'd feel sad when she died.
If they're gonna make such a big deal out of a minor character, give us more time with the minor character.
Yeah,
Because it really went from like she's a asshole who just wants to split the team, who only cares about money and the business, to a person we should actually care about for some reason, who like is a person.
which is like her. I feel like her like character arc and her like character change. It could have been a really powerful like redemption arc kind of,
Yeah.
you know? But they just had her like it was like bad, 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 bad. Okay, she's better and she dies.
Yeah.
It was too sudden to be believable.
Yeah.
And I just feel like they could have they did her dirty.
Also, it was
So
too sudden for us to actually care.
yeah. You can't have her like be such a two-dimensional character for so many seasons and then suddenly try to give her this like backstory. Like they threw in like the alcoholism and the dating Rossi and like her backstory with Tara,
Yeah.
like all at the same time. And they're like,
Yeah.
let's make her three-dimensional and let's kill her off.
Like the thing is, for the longest time, she like was a character who was only there to be antagonistic towards the team, which is fine. Like we need those characters just to have like
Yeah,
conflict, but like don't try to like make her a whole character then if you're only going to give her so much screen time.
yeah. Just make a decision. I I really think that they only killed her off so that they could say I feel like I'm nearly positive that in like the episode before she dies, they have this like flash forward where they're like, oh, someone in the team is gonna die.
Yeah.
And I feel like they only kill her off so they could say that and then not have any of the actual characters that the um watchers like killed off, you know?
Oh yeah. I feel like that's the problem with the Criminal Minds writers. It's just like make a
Hmm.
decision.
Yeah. I
And
just it makes me upset because I feel like the potential was there for her to be like a good, well-rounded character if they had started the character arc from the beginning and made it believable.
I think the difference between, I mean, I think from Mary and I think for most people, there's like two major groups of shows we love where it's like bad, like Supernatural and Criminal Minds, but it's still good. Like there's potential. And then there's
Hmm.
that other group which is like Hunters and the Wilds that you can tell like were like formed and like written
Hmm.
and like decisions were made beforehand and it was all written out before like just filming. Um,
Yeah.
but the thing with Criminal Minds and Supernatural, you kind of don't get that opportunity because they end up being really long shows.
Hmm.
I feel like what we need in this world is shows that accept an ending has to happen earlier on. Like I want people to be
Yeah.
like, this is gonna be a 5 season show and this is how it's gonna end and this is how it's gonna go.
The biggest example of that I've seen is How to Get Away with Murder.
Mm,
Because it's 6 seasons, they knew it was going to be 6 seasons from the beginning. It has a very well defined arc from the beginning to the end where each character has an arc where they're like dynamic and they change and they improve by the end and then it ends and they
yeah.
ended it and they didn't try to make it any further. So,
I mean, I know it's quite different, but like think about it in the context of a book. Like imagine if you wrote books the way fanfic writers write on Wattpad, which is chapter at a time,
some are.
where it's just chapter at a time, posting as you go, and you really don't know where it's gonna end, and that's just how you wrote a book, and like that doesn't make any, it just doesn't make any sense, and it like
Mhm.
causes a lot of inconsistency, and it doesn't make the ending as satisfying as you would think.
It reminds me of some like animes like Naruto, which I only got like if there's any like avid Naruto fans out there, I only got like 50 episodes in and I couldn't do it anymore. But it's just like it's like episode after episode after episode. I think it's like 200, 250
Yeah,
episodes
yeah,
long.
yeah.
And and I've actually read about like the reason it's like all the fight scenes are like 6 episodes and there's so much filler is because the manga was still being written
Oh,
while they were coming out with episodes like they caught up and so they had nothing to animate. But it's just,
I, Mary and I just want people to make decisions from the beginning and stick with them.
yeah. I mean, you can't write like serious drama shows like you write sitcoms
Oh yeah.
where there's no overarching storyline and it's just like the characters together. And Criminal Minds could have made that decision
Yeah.
where they were just like each episode there's a new plot. There's no overarching storyline. They could have made that decision, but they didn't. And they just need to go all the way.
And you know what? They let us down. I mean, not really. We love the show. I feel like we have to say that every 5 minutes because people are like, they really hate the show.
Did you want to talk about one more person?
Yeah.
Unless you want to talk about Strauss.
I mean, is there much to say? She was done dirty. Okay, last person. Wait, I can't read. Hold on. Sorry. I had someone. Oh, Kevin. He's not really that.
Oh, I liked Kevin.
Yeah.
And then I found out, because I thought that he was like done dirty on the show and they
Oh
like had him
yeah.
break up with Garcia for no reason. But then I found out that he was arrested
Yeah.
for domestic abuse.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe they had a reason. So I can't say I love him anymore.
Anyways, exclusively talking about his character on the show. I think
Yeah.
he's pretty decent.
Yeah, I liked him on the show. I liked his relationship with Garcia. Yeah.
I mean, again, unfortunate reality. Like, if he would have stayed on the show, if he wasn't an asshole in real life, he probably could have had like
Mm-hmm.
a really good storyline with Garcia.
Yeah.
But for good reason, they kicked him off the show.
Yeah. I wish they had resolved that like hanging thing with Garcia.
Yeah.
Where she, like the way she broke up with him. She's like, I don't want to marry somebody. Like they never resolved that. They kind of threw it out there. They could have broken up for a different reason or something.
Oh yeah.
It just didn't seem super believable, though I can understand why they wanted to just like get the actor out of there.
Yeah. Anyways, is there anything else you want to say about Kevin? I don't have much to say about Kevin.
Not really. I mean, I feel like Garcia deserved better
Oh yeah.
in the romance department. Like I
Absolutely.
think they could have brought back another character like Kevin that like fit with her well. Like not just like rehashing the same character, but like a similar type things. I just feel like she didn't. The chemistry wasn't there with Luke. It seemed very weird and odd and off to me. So
I thought it was funny. It didn't make sense, but I thought it was funny.
every scene where they talk to each other, I skipped it because it just made me uncomfortable to watch. So I had to skip through it.
I just hate that their conversation didn't have much development. Like until the end, Garcia was like, "I hate you. You're just you're like." She basically was like, "You're a poor man's Derek Morgan. Like you suck." Da da da. Like I don't really recognize you as a
Which she
person.
was.
Yeah, but and then at the end, he's like, "Do you want to go out sometime?" And she's like, "Sure." And I'm like, "That doesn't make any sense."
They tried to do an enemies to lovers slow burn, but then they speed run it.
You know what I would have loved?
Hmm.
If Luke, like, he was his character, but he was like on a different department or team. And that he kind of just interacted with Garcia intermittently and it kind of built. And
Yeah.
they could have done some sort of enemies to
If
lovers
they
thing.
had done it better, if the chemistry was there, if it was built more, well thought out, it could have worked.
It was just so quick.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And I know people say like opposites attract, but I feel like people can't be that different where they don't have any common interest. Like, what are they going to talk about?
I have no idea.
That's why I don't like, that's why I don't super agree with like the Reed with like Max thing. Cause I feel like all the things that Reed is super into and he would talk about all the time, like Max like wouldn't understand.
Well, that's just because what Max is YN.
Yeah.
She's one of the most blank characters I've ever seen in my entire life on a show. Like, she has a family. She has a nephew that she likes. And she's kind of funny. And she's like,
No, she's like, all of those YA post-apocalyptic books that came out after the Hunger Games,
Oh yeah.
where they're just like, oh, there's this girl that's super clumsy, but she's also a great fighter, and she's like mean to the love interest, and that's her personality. Like she's that, except she doesn't fight.
She's
So,
really like
so it's a similar thing where like she's not like super not like super socially aware, like she's kind of has that awkward like vibe,
yeah,
and then she's able to trick Cat.
yeah.
Like that's the similar feeling to like I'm awkward, but I'm also great at hand-to-hand combat.
It's really like I'm not like other girls. And
Yes.
it's sad that we have to like I don't know. I just think the whole thing
Yeah.
is sad. But before we get too sad, I think we should. You know what? Let's do like like since it's New Year's. I think forgot to mention that today is December 31st. You might be seeing this. I don't know when I'm going to upload this. Hopefully this Saturday.
In
Um
3 months. If this
um
is March, tell us how it's going. I'm
if
really scared.
please tell us the pandemic is like at least somewhat calmed down from
I've
what's really
decided
happening.
I'm going to make my prediction on how the entirety of 2021 is going to turn
No.
out with the results of the Georgia runoff elections. If it
Everyone
goes well, the year's going to be great. If it goes not well, it's going to suck.
everyone go vote your O's off. Let's do this, people.
If you're in
Anyways,
Georgia.
if you're in Georgia, if you're not, leave.
If you're a Republican in Georgia, stay home. Forget I said that. Sorry. I apologize.
Any conservative fan base. It's I mean we doubt it had any, but like whatever was left is just erased. It's gone. Okay, anyways, let's do like a quick 5 minute just like talk. I
Right.
think it's important to have a little talk about the past year. Should we do all the cliches? It's been a tough, unprecedented year.
In these unprecedented times.
No, I just wanted to talk about 2020 just because I feel like it's good for everyone just to be like, it sucked and let's talk about it and let's hope that, 2021 is better.
Yeah.
The bar is really low.
I heard that there's a new vaccine that came out.
Yes.
Like there's the Pfizer vaccine and there's the Moderna vaccine, and then there's like a third one that's like it can stay in like regular refrigeration.
Ooh.
And it hasn't been okayed by the FDA yet, or
Yeah.
like the EU, whatever, but it's been okayed in Britain. And a lot of it's going to go to like developing countries, because most of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines have already been like gobbled up by first world countries.
My mom, in
So.
fact, is vaccinated. She got vaccinated a couple days
Oh,
ago. My
very
mom's a
nice.
healthcare worker, by the way. I didn't want people thinking that my mom was like a rich person and she just
She
bought her
stole
way to the
one.
vaccine. My mom
Stole
stole
one.
one. She stole a vaccine and gave it to
She
herself.
stole one for herself, but not for you.
No, my mom is vaccinated. She's a nurse. Um, but I mean, I mean, it's crazy year. I think I just wanted to give this time to validate how everyone's feeling at the moment. If you're feeling overwhelmed and mentally exhausted, you should. It's a
Yeah,
tough
everyone
year.
does.
Um, I had a moment where I realized someone brought up February. I was watching a YouTube video. They're talking about February, and I was like, in February, Mary and I were on like a school trip for school, like at Disneyland
Oh yeah.
for a program that we did at our school. And that's so weird that that was this year because that feels 2 years ago.
Do you know what feels not real?
What?
In 2 months, I'm gonna be 19 years old.
Ah!
My last teen year.
Oh no, Mary's gonna be all mature.
You know what I realized the other day?
What?
Like, no one who's watching this will care, but my youngest sister is 7 years younger than me,
Yes.
and we're not gonna have any teen years together because I'm gonna turn 20 like 4 months before she turns 13.
Dude, that's nuts.
I know, it's weird.
That's honestly, I mean, I can't say anything because I don't have a large age gap sibling. But do you have any personal like just tidbits about like having such a large age gap that just you find weird?
She's annoying, but It's weird because like when she was like growing up, I always felt like, oh, this is a little person,
Yeah.
and I can directly impact like who she is,
Yeah.
like morality wise. So sometimes I would like tell her things like about like racism and stuff like
Yeah.
that, you know? And I was like, oh, I can like widen her worldview as she's a child.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Sometimes I like talk to my older sisters about stuff, and then I'm like, oh, I cannot tell that to Ellie.
I think it's interesting to like know someone from when they're a baby, but also be so close. Because like the people I
Hmm.
have that relationship with are like my cousins, but I don't see
Yeah,
them like like maybe every couple of months. But like I can't imagine like having a sibling who you've known as a baby. Just like you're gonna see her entire life, essentially, or not
yeah.
entire life,
I
but like
changed her
most.
diapers. I helped her learn how to walk.
It's so weird. Um, but yeah. Anyways, 2020. Fuck you. What a ringer.
Cross our fingers for 2021.
Cross
I'm
our
not one of
fingers
those
for
people
2020.
that's like once 2020 is over, like everything's gonna be
Oh
fixed.
yeah,
It's
no.
gonna be great. But I hope it'll be at least a little bit better.
At the very least, I'm hoping for the pandemic to be over at least in the like latter months of 2021. I hope it's taken care of to an extent in the latter months.
Hmm.
Um, and I hope to an extent we have America has gone a little forward in dealing with climate change because that's getting really worrying.
I'm scared.
I'm
Um,
scared. Anyways,
can I tell you the
yeah.
TikTok I think was the funniest one that I've seen all month? I think I sent it to you, but I just want to share it with our fan base.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know how many of you like watch TikTok, but like Hank Green is pretty big on like
Yeah.
the side of TikTok that I'm on, and he made this TikTok where he was like, "Oh, you can't bite down, you can only bite up
Yeah.
because only your lower jaw moves." But then this other guy made this TikTok where he was basically like, "Fuck you, Hank Green," and then he put his like head like on a counter,
Yeah.
and then he went like this, so he was biting down, and then he like bit down on grass.
Because according to Hank Green, we can't eat grass.
Yeah, so we're
Hell.
not cows. We only have one stomach. Well, technically cows have one stomach too, but
What a debate. Also, if you do this, you're still biting up.
no, but the thing is, it was like his bottom jaw wasn't moving. His entire skull was moving.
Oh, okay. As opposed, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And he really said, "Fuck you, Hank Green."
Yeah.
Honestly, Hank Green was like one of the highlights of 2020. Like one of the very few
Oh yeah, for
highlights.
sure.
Like Hank Green, just like his TikTok game, just like escalating. It's just chef's kiss. Anyways, I think we should end the episode here. Um,
Probably. I think it's been like an hour.
it's been over an hour. I hope you guys. Oh, yeah. I just want to say, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Also, good luck coming into the new year, because we all need it. Anyways, I'll let Mary outro.
Um, if you've made it this far, thanks. If you'd like, you can you can like, comment, and subscribe down below, or you could not. I mean, it's up to you.
You could do the
Um,
opposite of
our
it.
last our last episode should be here, and then if it is far enough in the future, our next episode should be here. And if you watched our last episode, I'm sorry, because it was 2.5 hours long.
I'm so
But if
sorry.
you want to watch us almost fail at doing an unsolved case file,
Oh
then that's
yeah,
what that was.
we solved murder. We brought someone to justice.
Yeah, it was fun for us.
Probably not for anyone watching. Okay. Thanks for watching the Wheels Up podcast. We'll see you next week, hopefully. Bye.
Bye bye.